Hello and welcome to the matchup presented by Unibet, coming to you from across the Steelers' digital and social media platforms alongside Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson of The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio. I'm Rob King. The Steelers are 6-4 now after their 13-10 loss to the Cleveland Browns. That elevated the Browns to 7-3. They're getting ready for another important AFC North matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. They'll do so with a different voice as the offensive coordinator. Earlier this week, guys, Matt Canada dismissed. Eddie Faulkner, the running back coach, has been elevated to interim offensive coordinator, and Mike Sullivan will call the plays. Your initial thoughts? This offense really had been struggling to score points.
Yeah, and they're running the ball really well, Rob, over the last 3 weeks. It's been 181 rushing yards per game. But what they aren't doing is
completing more passes.
Completing enough passes.
I listened. I woke up in a cold sweat saying complete more passes last night.
Yep. That has been Matt and I's our mantra,
right?
All week long. I mean, the passing yards just aren't good enough in today's NFL, and they need to be better, and they need to do whatever they can to
complete more passes.
Yeah,
got to do it.
And the average scoring, obviously, for the offense, not where you want it to be right now. And has been trending in the wrong direction, really, for 3 seasons.
100%. I mean, I think a change was in order, but the running game is coming along really well, but they need to complete more passes. They got to develop the quarterback a little bit better. But I will say, the slate of defenses they've played this year is historically difficult. You know, it does ease up from here, but it hasn't been an easy go of things.
All right, so we know as we get ready to look at our key matchups, we know, Dale, that the Steelers have to
complete more passes
on offense. But let's begin with third down conversions. Maybe running the ball, getting you into manageable situations, whatever it is, you want to see the Steelers continue to run the ball well, Matt, but begin to pick up more third downs.
100%. And I think a huge key is success on first down, to be very honest with you. The Steeler defense has been tremendous in first down defense, but the Bengals defense has been very giving in the holiday season here on first down. So if you can get ahead of the chains with your early down success rate, obviously that makes third downs a lot easier. And frankly, when you look at third downs, I almost look at the denominator more than I do the numerator. If you get the third downs too often, no matter what team you are, that's not a recipe for success. Because, I mean, converting on third downs 50% is really, really good. And that's not a great way to live in this league.
And the Bengals, their defense, 30th in yards allowed, 31st in rush yards allowed. You'd think that this would be an area that you could dominate on first down.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of 2 teams in the NFL right now currently giving up 5 or more yards per carry, Denver being the other one. So you should be able to run the football. The Steelers should be able to, especially given how they've run the ball in recent weeks. I would expect some good first down runs to get them into a rhythm. And then maybe you start mixing in the pass. And, well, if you can do that, if you can successfully mix the run and the pass, you should have a successful offense.
All right, Dale, let's get to your keys, and it deals with the inside linebackers for the Bengals. 2 rangy, good players. Logan Wilson, the hip drop tackle now is what you're hearing with Logan Wilson.
He was a wrecking machine last week.
Mark Andrews injured on that what has become controversial tackle, but he and Pratt, both rangy, very good middle linebackers for the Cincinnati.
Yeah, and if you look at this Cincinnati defense, Rob, one thing that they have done well this year is take the football away. They have 18 takeaways, and those 2 guys are a big part of that. They've combined for 5 interceptions this season. Obviously, the run defense maybe is a little less than what Cincinnati would like, but if you're getting 5 takeaways, three interceptions for Wilson and 2 for Pratt out of those inside linebackers, that's something that the Steelers are going to have to be very cognizant of when Kenny Pickett's going over the middle of the field.
And will he be going over the middle of the field? I guess that's a big question because that's been one of the issues that's certainly been talked about here, getting more passes over the middle of the field. It'll be interesting, really, before we get into my key, just to see how different can this offense be. They're not going to start putting in a new offense.
Right.
What are we going to see against the Bengals?
I mean, you're not going to install new concepts. You're not going to go back to training camp in a time machine and start an install process. But the play sequencing will be different. I'm sure there'll be different tendencies that the defense doesn't know at this point. Maybe you play more 12 personnel with Freiermuth getting healthier. They've been a very heavy 11 personnel team. Maybe Warren gets more. I don't think there's going to be drastic changes, though.
Perhaps an emphasis on who your first target would be. Maybe, hey, let's push the ball down the field, and then if that's not there, come back to something shorter, because we're just not privy to what those sequences are supposed to look like for Kenny Pickett in a given week.
100%. And I've been in the walls of an NFL building, and it's really hard if you're not in the walls to comment on what the assistant coaches are doing or what's being done, game planning, things of that nature. But maybe more play action, maybe more middle of the field throwing. Those seem like two obvious ones.
And completing more passes.
Complete more
is the goal
passes.
here,
That
yeah.
would be definitely a key. Okay, so my key involves Trey Hendrickson, and I like Sam Hubbard, a really, a good, I think, a solid left defensive end, high effort guy. He's going to wind up with his 6, 7, 8 sacks. But Trey Hendrickson on the other side, kind of, I think, an underrated pass rusher. You don't think of him when you think of elite pass rushers, but he's got a 14 sack season. He's got a 13.5 sack season. He had 8 last year. He's already eclipsed that with 9.5 sacks. He's among the leaders in that category. So if you want to throw the ball, if you want to press it further down the field, Dan Moore struggled, as many people do, with Myles Garrett. I think Dan Moore versus Trey Hendrickson is going to be a big key to keeping Kenny Pickett upright and perhaps pressing the ball down the field a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think the key here is that Hubbard's missed the last couple of games for the Bengals, so we'll see if he's able to come back and go in this game. If he's not, and it's just Hendrickson, now you can do some things to help Dan Moore out a little bit on that side.
Yeah, Hendrickson's a great story for them. I mean, he's one of the best free agent signings of any team in the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, he was good with the Saints. He's been great for Cincinnati. He's really in the prime of his career right now.
Yeah, he had that one good year, and you're thinking, do they really want to give him this kind of money? And the answer is yes,
yes.
they do.
Yeah, he's worth every penny. Yeah.
He's really good. All right, don't miss on Yin's Chat's regular season challenge each week. We're going to throw these challenges up for you. Answer Steelers trivia, make game day picks for a chance to win signed helmets, jerseys, footballs, even a trip to the 2024 draft. Plus, answer the day's questions correctly and get double the points. Log into the Steelers mobile app now and play for a chance at this week's prize, which is a Cam Hayward signed football. And the question, today's over-under 3.5 sacks for Cam Hayward. I'm going to be rude and go first, guys. I'm going with the over on this one. I think we're going to see him out there in the field more. I really think, we'll get to my keys later, but I think the Bengals are going to want to try to run the football, and I think Cam's going to eat him up.
Yeah, and 3.5 tackles for a guy like Cam Hayward is probably really a low bar for him, because if you look at it, 2 years ago he led all defensive linemen in tackles. Last year he was second in defensive lineman tackles. Missed some time this year, but he's very active and he runs to the ball. I'd go over 3.5 tackles.
I'm going to be different and go under, and my reasoning isn't anything about Hayward. He obviously could go over. He was tremendous against the run last week. He looks to be fully back. But guys like Watts are playing really well. I think Benton's a star in the making. We know what Ogunjobi brings. So if Cam's only out there 45 snaps, maybe he doesn't go over.
Yeah, Isaiah Loudermilk
He had a good game too.
Right?
Yeah, he did.
They have a nice, very nice rotation
they're
on
all
that
healthy
defensive
and doing
line.
well.
Very deep. Yeah, very effective. All right, up next, the Steelers will face another inexperienced quarterback, this one making his first career start. We'll take a look at the Steelers' defense against the Bengals' offense when we continue on the matchup, presented by Unibet.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
Welcome back to the matchup presented by Unibet alongside Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson. I'm Rob King. Thanks for being with us as we get you ready for the 6-4 Steelers visiting the 5-5 Bengals. And before we jump into the key matchups, what a difference 2 weeks makes for the Bengals. They're riding a 4-game winning streak. Yeah. The Bengals are back. Burrow looks terrific. Then you lose to Houston, and then you lose Burrow in a damaging loss to the Baltimore Ravens. And now you're 5-5. And you're in big trouble right now if you're the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, they really are, and so much of that team revolves around Burrow and what he does and what he brings to the table for them, and it's as important as any quarterback's position in the league. It's the same as taking Patrick Mahomes off the Kansas City Chiefs, and maybe even more so this year because at least the Chiefs' defense is playing well.
Right.
Cincinnati's defense is not playing nearly as well as that of Kansas City, and Burrow's been he changed that entire culture with that Cincinnati team, and now to not have him, I think, is a really, really damaging blow.
Yeah, Jake Browning's going to be the guy that's going to be asked to take over.
Yeah, and they looked really deflated when he went out of the game last week. I mean, really took the wind out of their sails. I think people know this by now, but they started the season in such a hole. I mean, not only do they have too many losses, but they're all in the division, they're all in the conference. So the tiebreakers aren't going their way, and they have a really brutal schedule ahead, too. Everyone on the Bengals schedule going forward is 500 or better at the moment.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get any easier.
They're in trouble, hopefully beginning this week with the trouble. And let's get to our key matchups. And for me, I know, look, I don't know what they're going to do with Browning. We don't know yet. He's making his first career start. He's a 27-year-old. Missy Matthews had a great stat. Steelers have won 8 consecutive games against guys making their debut at quarterback. The last one to beat him, Brett Favre in 1992. Thank you for that great stat, Missy. So I think they're going to lean on the running game. That's for me. I think Joe Mixon, solid running back, averages about 75 yards per game in his career on the ground against the Steelers. The Bengals are 3-7 in those games. But I think if you can stop Mixon, and Mixon's good not only in the run game, but they'll utilize him a little bit in the passing game as well. But it's hard for me to see the Bengals not wanting to really get Mixon going and rely on him more. They don't have to rely on him as much with Joe Burrow, but I think this is what the Bengals are going to try to do. And the Steelers, they can stop him. I think it goes a long way towards victory.
Well, and the Steelers, have been much better stopping the run in recent weeks as well. But if you look at Cincinnati's run game, it's only producing about 80 yards a game this season. And, I thought that Mixon probably had his best game of the year last week. He looked the best that he's looked last week against the Ravens, but even that wasn't still enough to overcome the loss of Joe Burrow.
And somewhat strangely, I mean, for this team, it's all Mixon. They don't have a peripheral back that gets a lot, or a Lamar, or a Deshaun Watson, or a DTR that gets rushing yards. So their totals are low, and I'm sure the Steelers, as they have been, will be keen on stopping the run. They did that very well recently.
Well, we do know the Bengals have some weapons, particularly at the wide receiver position. They're starting to get a little more production out of the tight end position as well. Look, you got an elite player in Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is talented, obviously. Tyler Boyd. So your key is, let's not let Browning get comfortable in the pocket. Get some pressure on this guy making his first career start.
Absolutely, and it's the one thing that they weren't able to do last week against the Browns, because the Browns were getting the ball out of Dorian Thompson-Robinson's hands so quickly, 2.1 seconds. You've got to get them in this. If the Bengals are going to try to run the football, you have to slam the door on it and get Browning into some 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9s, and then really get after him. Because if you look at this Cincinnati offensive line, Ted Karras has given up 6 sacks this year. Jonah Williams, their right tackle, and then one of their guards, Cordell Volson, have both given up 4 sacks. Orlando Brown at left tackle is 3, and then Alex Kappa 2 sacks. So this line is not great in pass protection. Heat it up on him.
Yep, keep it hot in the kitchen. I like that, Mike. Nice job.
There you go. And they've invested a lot in this line. I mean, it's not like they're a bunch of journeymen. So, and what's odd about their line, kind of like the Steelers last year, it's been the same 5 for almost every snap, start to finish. So you're getting the same group, and it hasn't been all that effective.
And you're going to go with the turnover battle in this game.
Yeah, and that really could go for either side of the ball. But I think everyone knows that the Steelers have really excelled in all phases of turnovers this year. Creating turnovers, protecting the football, all those things. And you'd look at the Bengals season, from afar and think, man, they must be struggling in that area, because, the defense is talented, but they're allowing a lot of yardage. Their record's not what people expected. It's a total opposite. The Bengals are almost identical in every turnover metric there is to the Steelers at the top of the league. So I'm sure they're sitting there going, if we can keep our turnover pace up, we'll be right in this thing, and the Steelers can't allow it.
Our producer, Gerard Schaefer, going with Feast on Takeaways. He's really going. He's getting us ready
pushing
for Thanksgiving. Stomachs are rumbling out here in the set. But this has been a big advantage for the Steelers, but this has been an advantage for the Bengals as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're second in the league in turnover ratio behind the Steelers, just one behind them. But that was all with Joe Burrow at quarterback. Do we expect Jake Browning to be nearly as efficient with the football as Burrow? I don't think so. And so it's going to be interesting. Again, get him in those 3rd and long situations, heat up the kitchen, and then take the ball away.
Sounds
it all
good.
goes hand in hand.
Sounds like a good winning formula for the Steelers, who could really use a victory. Another pivotal AFC North matchup. The 6-4 Steelers visiting the 5-5 Bengals at Paycor Stadium. 1 o'clock kickoff scheduled for Sunday. For Dale Lolley, Matt Williamson, I'm Rob King. Happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for watching this edition of The Matchup presented by Unibet.